Scare, just kidding. We're going to skip the intro because I think my son may have settled himself, but he may also be going back to sleep. Either way, this is going to be a quick one. So, how to rebuild like a fucking psychopath. I am rebuilding. I am a psychopath when it comes to Dynasty. So, I thought I would share my process because there are a few teams in this league that I believe could benefit. Got your bottle? Strap yourself in. Let's go. Alright, so the first thing that you need to do when you're rebuilding and attempting to rebuild like a psycho is have a target date in mind. I want to compete in the for me, in this league, the 2024 season is my window to start competing. Before then, I am actively avoiding competing. Reason being, you don't get anything for finishing in 3rd place, 4th place, 5th place, 6th place, 7th place, 8th place, or 9th place. So you may as well finish in 10th place because you do get something for finishing lower, better draft picks. So if you have your own draft picks, and if you're rebuilding, you have to have your own draft picks. If you're rebuilding, keep your own draft picks, have a target year in mind, avoid competing until that year. If you have a team, we're going to do a theoretical rebuild of Rich's team, bunch of bums. They earned themselves the 102. They currently have a decent roster because they have Joe Burrow. I say decent. They have a roster that's propped up by Joe Burrow and a pretty terrible wide receiver core that's basically only anchored by Calvin Ridley and Jameson Williams. Their running backs are the only thing that really get them any points. And your bench is, well, frankly, it's barren. Your bench is barren. Completely and utterly devoid of anything useful. So, where that leaves us is essentially with Joe Burrow, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, Jameson Williams, Calvin Ridley, and Cam Akers. You've got Hunter Renfrow, Michael Gallup. People will probably be willing to pay something for that. I got a canker short right here, and it hurts so bad when I talk. The problem is I really want to hear the sound of my own voice. So we're going to suffer. Push through the pain. This is like Michael Jordan playing with the flu. This is a bloody sock. Kurt Schilling's bloody sock. Alright. So, if I'm Rich, I'm targeting 2025. With that in mind, can I compete with this roster in 2025? No, I can't. Can I compete with this roster after I spend the picks that I currently have by 2025? Well, at the end of 2023, Rich, you're going to have added to your team 6 rookies, and that's a good amount of draft capital to have. 6 rookies, but your highest pick is the 202, and your second highest pick is the 302. So, with only 1 second-round pick, I don't anticipate your roster being capable of competing next year. Lucky for you, you have your own first. You also have 4 total future firsts, which is really, really good. So, you've got 2 firsts, a second in 2024, and 2 firsts and a second in 2025. That's really good. That's a total of up to 6 usable players to add to your team. Now, will you be putting all 6 of those players in your starting roster? No. But what you're able to do is to leverage those assets, potentially young assets. Generally in Dynasty, people overvalue youth over actually scoring fantasy points. So if you're targeting the year 2025, you could trade maybe that early second-round pick that you're going to have, trade it for a veteran receiver like someone like this year's, and then you're not going to want to trade it in 2025, but like someone like this year's Calvin Ridley, say that's the 202 in 2025. You could buy Calvin Ridley probably for a 202 right now. The owner might hold out hope of being able to flip that Calvin Ridley for a first, but that's probably close to Calvin Ridley's market value. Now, generally, I think I'm of the opinion if you're buying the known commodity, you should kick in a little something, an extra third, an extra future fourth, something like that. Now, after you have your year targeted, are you going to be able to compete with the assets that you would have if you just keep your team and then just spend those picks? So if you just don't make any trades, if you go full Jim Mertz, don't make a trade, and just ride it out. No, I don't think you're going to be able to compete, and here's why. Calvin Ridley, by 2025, will be 31 years old. Rest in peace. Will be 30 years old. Cam Akers will be 25, going on 26. I don't know if he will even be starting by then. There's no guarantee. Najee Harris will basically have completely played through his rookie contract and will possibly be playing on his fifth-year option, but also possibly be playing... Getting tripped up. This hurts. Possibly be playing for a different team. And if that's the case, his value will go down because generally you want your running backs to get re-signed by the team that drafted them. That's what happens to valuable running backs. If Najee Harris proves that he is not a valuable running back, the Steelers will not re-sign him. Now, the Steelers aren't generally into giving big money out to running backs anyway, so there's no guarantee that happens, even if he is a good running back. However, the fact that his future will be in question by that point, Najee will not get more valuable. He is his youngest he's going to be. Cam Akers is his youngest that he's going to be. Calvin Ridley is the youngest he's going to be. Najee Harris, Javonte Williams is the youngest he's going to be. I am not a fan of holding on to those running backs if their rookie deal will expire by the year that you are going to be competing. Javonte Williams just finished his second year in the NFL. He's going to play his third year in 2023, his fourth year in 2024, and then he will need to have been re-signed or hit the free agent market by 2025. Rich, you're not competing in 2024. Hate to break it to you. It's unlikely that just 2 first-round picks can fill in the hole of a starting wide receiver, because frankly, Quez Watkins, Michael Gallup, and Hunter Renfrow are holes in your lineup. Assuming Jameson Williams does at something, because he didn't do shit last year, you can just cross your fingers and pray. Tight end is a hole. The flex spot is going to be a hole by that time because Calvin Ridley's not going to be there. You've got a second flex spot that's a giant question mark in Cam Akers. I expect him to basically be a role player at somewhere, not really be fantasy relevant by that point. Not to mention the fact that you are going to have probably 1, maybe 2 quarterbacks that have starting, or you'll have 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks that have starting jobs. Maybe Jordan's first in 2024 turns into a starting quarterback for you. Then again, maybe not. So if I am you, I'm looking at my team, I'm getting real with myself for a second, and I'm saying, look, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow are not going to carry this week of a roster. I'm selling Calvin Ridley, effective immediately. At some point this year. He has to go this year. You don't not necessarily need to sell him. If you believe in Calvin, and you believe that him plus Trevor Lawrence is going to be legit, you can sell him during the year. The next thing that you need to know about how to rebuild is when to sell players. It goes without saying. If you're selling vets, do not sell them before the draft. You are not going to be targeting picks in the 2023 draft. What you're going to be doing, and the way that you're going to play this, is there's not really a ton of 2024 picks you're going to be getting either. Ray is the only person who's holding any picks that he's going to sell. You can assume Peter's not going to sell his. You can assume Jim's not going to sell theirs. They're very stingy. I've got the rest. I'm holding on to those. I like those picks. I want more. So what I would be doing if I'm you, I'm targeting the 2025 picks. I'm basically going to be targeting receivers or quarterbacks with my second round and early third round picks this year, because receivers take time to develop, and I'm trying to compete by 2025. You got to keep everything on the clock. Receivers take 2 years to 3 years to fully develop, which means If I draft a receiver that was drafted in 2023, he'll play the 2023 season, 2024 season, and he's going into 2025 on his third year. You will know by then if that receiver is worth a damn or not. So, I'm trying to pick up receivers here. I'm trying to pick up late round running backs that I can flip. If I get a late round running back and I get a hit, I am desperately trying to flip that for a 2026 first. And the reason why you want 2026 first is because they're the cheapest they're ever going to be. And when you're trying to compete in 2025, you can use the 2026 draft in the middle of the 2025 season. Those 2026 draft picks are going to be the next up draft picks, which means they will then be the most valuable draft picks. So if you are targeting competing in 2025, you have your 2026 draft picks stocked up so that you can make your purchases that you need to make to fill in the holes. I say purchases because I think of Dynasty like your roster is a bank account. You're trying to accumulate value so that you can make the moves that you need to make when you need to make them. All right. I said short and sweet, but we're already at 11 minutes. Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to happen. My kids stayed asleep, so I'm just going to keep talking. All right. Now, when to address the running back position. That is going to be, if you're at the 101 and there's a guy like Bijan, you kind of have to take him. If you're trying to compete not the year that you draft that running back, but the following year, that's an okay thing. You can build up your running back stable a little bit. But before you take running backs, you want to have at least 5 wide receivers in this league that are startable. They don't have to be elite, but guys like Darnell Mooney and above. The reason that you want that is because you have 3 starting wide receiver positions and 3 flex positions. You're going to want 3 starters, and say you just want to fill out all your flexes with running backs. Go ahead. That's your prerogative. Running backs are generally cheaper than wide receivers because that's the current metagame of Dynasty right now. So I think that's a solid idea. You can fill out those 3 wide receivers, but then you're going to have injuries, you're going to have bye weeks, and you need those 2 bench players to be able to just fill out those 3 starting receiver positions. If you want to fill out all 6 of your positions with wide receiver, all 6 of your receiver, and 3 flex, 6 total, then you're going to need about 9, probably about 9 total receivers. That is a lot to have 9 fantasy relevant wide receivers. They don't all have to be studs. You can fill in with a guy like Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer's a great 7th, 8th, 9th receiver to use. But yeah, that's how you got to be thinking about this. You need to have acquired those assets by 2025 or be capable of purchasing the assets that you do not have come 2025 if that is the year that you're going to compete. Now, here's where we're going to get super psychotic about this. The previous 13 minutes and 17 seconds, it's been light work. I'm going to take you all deep into the level of psychosis that I have. So we've been talking about Rich's team. I'm going to shift gears again. We're going to talk about my team. I am looking at the 2024 season as my winning window. So I've done a lot. I say a little bit. I've done entirely too much research on the current Dynasty metagame and running back values because it just seems so strange to me. I saw Christian McCaffrey go in the 4th round of a 12-team startup, and I almost lost my fucking mind. Why does no one want to win fantasy games in Dynasty football? It doesn't make sense. People are all concerned about accumulating value, accumulating winning trades, accumulating picks, so that they can so that you can do what? So that you can do what's your plan? Just be in an internal rebuild? I get it, rebuilding's fun, but rebuilding with a purpose is so much more fun because when your plan comes together and you begin to win, it feels amazing. Here's how I'm planning on doing that. 2024 is my goal. I am going to play the Dynasty metagame against itself. Currently, Dynasty does not like running backs on their second deal. The fact that Christian McCaffrey at just, what is he? I am pretty sure he's 26, about to be 27. That's not all that old. He's 26, about to be 27. That's really, frankly, not that old. he could play easily in a very fantasy relevant role until he's 29. And I expect him to play until he's 30-something. Obviously, injuries can make that much shorter, but injuries could happen to literally any player. That said, there's an obvious disconnect between the points that these players are putting up, running backs on their second deals, versus the value that they have in Dynasty. Currently, Christian McCaffrey can be bought for a mid-first round pick, like straight up on most trade calculators. That's fucking bananas to me. Like, do you want, who's the 106 in this draft? Like Will Levis or Jahmyr Gibbs? Do you want Jahmyr Gibbs or do you want Christian McCaffrey? Christian McCaffrey. Duh. Well, you want Christian McCaffrey in 3 years? No, probably not. But if you're competing, maybe. Maybe you want a 29-year-old Christian McCaffrey. Like, the value of Alvin Kamara, he's like worth almost a third-round pick right now. The value of Dalvin Cook, he's worth like a mid-second. Ezekiel Elliott's like, he's basically Thanos dust. Just snap that dude out of existence, man. He's not worth anything, but I promise you he's going to be putting up fantasy points this year with somebody. Who's the guy that just got signed to the Lions? David Montgomery. Like, he's not really worth much, but he's going to be worth, like, his points compared to his dynasty value. Some guys are kind of hyping him up. I don't love him. I'm really specifically targeting running backs that get re-signed by the team that drafted them. So in 2024, who will those running backs be? Well, you have to look at the 2029 first-round running back draft class because those are the only running backs eligible to be extended on their fifth-year option that's only available to rookies who get drafted in the first round. So they could potentially be on their fifth-year option in 2024. However, the only first-round running back, I believe, was Josh Jacobs. And infamously, the Raiders neglected to exercise his fifth-year option. Maybe my math is off. I think my math might be off on that because his fifth-year option would be this coming year, and he's playing on the tag this year. So no, I think I'm off. I think 2020 is the class that's going to be potentially being exercised as the fifth-round option. Yeah, it's 2020. So 2020, they played on the 2020, they played 2021, they played 2022. 2023 will be the final year on their rookie deal. So this draft class is, these are the guys that I'm going to be targeting when it's my turn to compete. DeAndre Swift, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor. Those are kind of all the big names. Everyone, like, after that, A.J. Dillon is also up there. So guys that I will be targeting, I will absolutely be sending in offers on Jonathan Taylor come 2024. I will absolutely be sending in offers on, if J.K. Dobbins is still playing and has a role, I'll be sending in offers on J.K. Dobbins. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is unlikely to be there. There's my baby. So we're going to finish this up super quick. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is unlikely to be really starting. DeAndre Swift, I fully expect to have a role somewhere. So I'll be targeting guys like DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor. Those are the running backs I'm going to purchase come 2024. Calling my shot now. Sign it, lock it in. Now, Rich, in 2025, you're looking at Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Michael Carter, Javonte Williams. So you can, like, if I'm you, I'm selling Javonte Williams now, and I'm buying him back later when he's cheaper, rather than just holding on to him. Sell him now, sell Javonte Williams now, sell Najee Harris now. Now, Najee is only going to be, if they don't exercise his fifth-year option, will be on a second deal. Even then, his value will be declined by 2025. Travis Etienne, same thing, exact same thing. These are guys I don't want on my team now. I want them off my team because You're going to sell them for the most value. You're selling high, and then come your time to compete, you're buying low. It's just that simple. Get every running back off your team because their value just plummets. Do I think it's correct? No. I actually truly do not believe that these running backs should be losing anywhere near as much value as they do in Dynasty at the moment. That's all I got time for. Baby's crying. Bottoms up, baby. Later.